Hello, fellow educators. Welcome to Season 2, Episode 19 of Teacher Stand. Still a place to regain your strength after a long day, week, or maybe semester this 2023. I'm your host, Steve G. I am beyond excited to be starting this second season of Teacher Stand after our summer break. What an honor it is to be part of this community. So, speaking of break, how was yours? My wife and I took a couple of trips within the great state of Texas, but whether you traveled far, close, or stayed home, I know you must have found new meaning in the word rest. I myself can't believe the amount of naps I took. I was so tired back in May. And yet, like I mentioned in episode 18, the miracle of summer happened inside of me again. Don't get me wrong, I'm not quite ready to go back to class yet, but at least I can put this episode of Teacher's Tent out there. That's a start, right? I want to begin by sharing that my summer was not only full of naps and trips, but brought about a big change I was not really expecting. I accepted an offer to move districts. I left Dallas ISD after 16 years to join another district in the northern suburbs. This means I have left my home of the last 10 years, my beloved Pleasant Grove Elementary School. The offer came from my former principal. My wife and I considered the offer because we had already thought of moving closer in the future to where our daughter and her family live. My new school is only minutes away from her home. So, we're moving jobs now and moving homes in the near future. Lots of change. I honestly never thought I would be experiencing this summer all the things we discussed about change in past episodes. I therefore want to dedicate this 19th episode to the Pleasant Grove Elementary community, administrators, teachers, my dearest team, but above all, my students, current and former, that gave me the privilege of letting me call myself their teacher. I will never forget you guys. Now, to the title of today's episode. I know we all dread talking about coming back to work, right? Whoever wants to go back? However, we know that the landing will be smoother if we prepare ourselves a little, so today we'll share some ideas to make that return a bit easier. The good news is that most of us still have quite a few days of summer left. In this episode, as usual, I'll share my 5 things that I believe will help us get started, whether you are a new or veteran teacher. So let's hope you enjoy today's presentation. Please keep sharing your feedback after listening, either through comments on Instagram or emails, in things you think would help a teacher better start getting ready for his or her school year ahead. So, let's talk about where to start. A great first thing to do when considering starting is asking yourself, am I ready to focus on school yet? When I look at the year ahead and feel like I can't face it, I simply give myself a few more days and I keep resting. This is a clear sign I'm not ready. My body and mind have not completely recovered from last school year. Going back to doing whatever made me feel rested for a couple of days more will do the job. Giving yourself some grace now will mean you will begin work on fully charged batteries. Once you have concluded you are ready, a second thing to move on to is, I believe, your room. If you are teaching the same grade level and or staying in the same room, this should not be too hard. If you're moving grades or room, it might require a little more time and thinking. You do not necessarily need to physically be in your room to start working on it, though. After all, most schools don't allow teachers to come in early, and who would want to go in early, right? You can instead draw a sketch of what you think your room will look like and work on it. Once you are allowed into your school, you can put up your room just by following your sketch. Next week, we'll go deeper into this. We'll discuss ways to turn a bare room into an inviting classroom, so stay tuned. A third useful place to start is with your class roster. The more you know ahead about your students, the better. Learning about the class size, number of boys and girls, older scores, IEPs, and accommodations will provide useful information that will better equip you to move on to point 4. We know that there's always a percentage of students that will just show up on the first day, of course, as well as some that might not be back even though they're technically in your class. But the roster is right now your best shot at getting an approximate picture of what your class or classes will look like this coming school year. Also, this will probably be the only time you will get to focus on such important point since once you go back to school, the whirlwind begins, and we know there's little extra time left, don't we? Item number 4 to ensure a great start is focusing on your teaching materials. Spend time becoming acquainted with all printed materials you will use this year. This is also a great time to set up your digital platforms for learning. I usually spend this time getting my Google Classroom started, as well as Edulastic, the digital assessment platform I use. If you have never heard of this tool, please go to my webpage, www.teacherstent.com, and under the Presentations heading, you will find an abstract of the training I offer as a certified Edulastic coach to new users wanting to know how to use this great platform. A final fifth valuable element is plan a possible first day of school. It's never too soon to start thinking about things you would like to say and activities you'd like to cover on that crucial first day. You can change that a lot of times until then, but focusing on the first day of school will let you slowly get into motion and will allow you to connect and hopefully get excited about facing a new school year. Also, don't forget to tie this all in what we suggested as the final task to complete during your summer break. Ask yourself where you would like to be in your educational journey 5 years from now. Remember episode 18? Hopefully, you were able to go back to previous episodes of Teacher's Tint and you listened to the topics with a different ear. Having written down your takeaway from the different episodes, you hopefully discovered things you hadn't paid attention to when you listened to it the first time. Remember, too, in closing, the New Year's resolutions you made. August will be, after all, a new school year. Write them down and keep them with you as a reminder of what you want this new year to look like. In conclusion, starting a new school year can be hard, but bearing in mind the 5 suggestions we shared should help ensure you slowly but steadily start your school year on your right foot. Namely, decide if you're really ready, start with your room, focus on your roster, prepare your teaching materials, and finally, plan a tentative first day while remembering what you want your academic goals this year to be. These are the top 5 on my list that we have covered in today's episode. So much to do. Where do I start? I would love to hear what suggestions would make your top 5 list. Feel free to email me this or other comments to steve@teacherstent.com. Again, that's steve@teacherstent.com. Or simply follow Teachers Tent on Instagram. Teachers Tent, altogether lowercase. In the meantime, please join us next week for our podcast's 20th episode, How to Turn a Bare Room into an Inviting Classroom. Coming back from the summer break to an empty classroom can be daunting for teachers, especially new educators. Join us to discover where to begin and avoid feeling stressed already in your very first week. So, please let me know in advance any ideas and tips you might have on this topic. Also, please visit teacherstent.com, my webpage, anytime. You'll find a few resources, as well as abstracts of presentations I share at schools. Consider asking your administrators if you feel like you'd like any of those topics presented at your very own school. And finally, consider becoming an ambassador of Teachers Tent by suggesting topics you'd like to hear about, sharing with friends and co-workers, and becoming a top contributor. In episode 18, we honored our 2 top contributors, Miss Ree and Gus M. I wonder whose names we'll pick at the end of this season. Maybe it'll be yours. So go ahead and share, comment, support, and inspire us here at Teachers Tent. And remember, if you're enjoying the show, please don't forget to let your colleagues and friends know about and bring them to Teachers Tent. We'll make room for them too. Have a great day and rest of summer.